Cbeebies Bedtime Story.
Hello, I'm Rick, and I have collected lots of beautiful sounds in these bottles. Listen. Oh, that's fantastic. Just like our lion friend in tonight's bedtime story. It's called The Best Sound in the World, and it is written and illustrated by Wume. Roy was a little lion who lived in the big city. His favourite thing was music. Next door to Roy lived Jemmy, a lemur who liked music too. Whenever Roy played, Jemmy would be there, dancing, clapping and singing along. It was very distracting for someone who was going to be a great musician. To be a famous violinist, thought Roy, first I need to find beautiful sounds. So Roy spent hours listening for different noises and putting them in little bottles. But when he tried to copy the sounds on his violin, none of them sounded quite beautiful enough. Jemmy tried to find sounds too, but a great musician doesn't need any help. The next day, Roy set off on his own to find the most beautiful sound in the world. Roy went to the forest where he collected the plip-plop of the rain. Roy trekked the highest mountains where he collected the twitter-tweet of the birds. Roy went to the desert where he collected the whoo of the whistling wind. Took a rest by the seaside where he found the splish-splash of the tide, and visited the souk at sunrise to catch the chitter-chatter of the market. Roy went everywhere, but the more he searched, the more confused he felt. Which was the most beautiful sound? He couldn't tell. And everyone he asked had a different answer. Roy became more and more lonely, so he decided to go home. When Roy got home, everything was the same. He still hadn't found the most beautiful sound in the world, and he was very sad. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. It was Jemmy, who tried hard to cheer him up. He played some tricks, but they weren't very funny. He did a silly dance, but it was really very silly. Then Jemmy asked Roy to play the sounds he'd collected on his journey. Slowly, Roy remembered the time he rode the camel in the woo of the wind. He remembered playing with the monkey in the plip-plop of the rain. As he remembered the splish-splash of the seaside, he reached for the violin, but it wasn't there. Luckily, Jemmy had a surprise for Roy. As he took back his violin, Roy realised that Jemmy had been with him on every step of his journey. And thinking of his friend, Roy began to play. Now Roy and Jemmy collect noises together. In their shop, the people of the city come to find their favourite sounds. Sometimes Roy hears something that makes him want to play his violin. Jemmy is always there, dancing, clapping and singing along. And it might not be the most beautiful, but for Roy, it is the best sound in the world. Just think of all the beautiful nighttime sounds you could collect in bottles. I can think of a few, can't you? Join me again soon for another bedtime story. Night-night.